All right, well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Vision to Vitality event, proudly presented by the Iowa Business Council and hosted by our exceptional partner, Kent Worldwide. As the President and CEO of the Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I'm thrilled to see so many of our valued members here today. Your presence and support makes these events possible, so thank you so much again for being present. I'd like to start and take a moment to recognize our distinguished elected officials joining us today. State of Iowa Senator Mark Confrerence, State of Iowa House Representative Mark Cisneros, Muscatine County Board of Supervisors Dan Chick and Jeff Sorensen, Muscatine County Treasurer Amy Zybarth, Muscatine City Council members Don Lampe, Peggy Gordon, Nadine Brocker, and Jeff Osborne, and Rock Ridge Community School District School Board member Maggie Pritchard. Thank you all so much for your leadership. In just a moment, you'll hear from our four cornerstone partners in Muscatine: Kent Worldwide, H&I, Musco Lighting, and Stanley Consultants. These organizations are knitted into the fabric of why Muscatine is a great place to live, work, play, and invest. We are immensely grateful for their contributions and call them partners. It is now my great honor to introduce the Chairman and CEO of Kent Worldwide, Mr. Gage Kent. Help me welcome.
Time to come to Iowa and drive through the country of the beautiful grain that's being picked, and just the colors are starting to turn. We've got Joe, I know, from Des Moines, and Georgia Van Gundy from Iowa Workforce as well. So it reminds me, I was thinking of you two. I hope you got off of Interstate 80 and drove some of the other roads, because it reminds me of the story where there was an Amish farmer driving down the road with his horse and wagon, and unfortunately he got head on collision with a car and threw him, the horse, and the dog, and the wagon into the ditch, and he suffered some injuries. But as things kind of went along in these sorts of things, the legal proceedings happened, and so the defense attorney put him on the stand and said, "Sir, isn't it true that at the scene of the accident, when asked, you stated that you felt fine and never better?" And he said, "Yes, that's true." He said, "Well, then why are you saying that there's issues now? And why did you say that then?" And he said, "Well, right after the accident, the state trooper came along, or county sheriff, I guess it was, came along and went over to my horse, who had a couple of legs broken and was whinnying in pain, and he pulled out his service revolver and stuck it in his ear, and he put him out of his misery. And then he walked over to my dog, who was injured and whining, and he took his service revolver again and took care of that problem too. And then he walked over to me and he said, "So how do you feel?" So, hey, the local folks know I like to tell corny jokes. Anyway, so you're Kent Corporation. We're very glad to have you here. This is our hometown. It's been our hometown, not since the very beginning. Actually, we started in Indianola, Iowa, but that was a long time ago, in the 20s. And since the 30s, we've been in Muscatine. And these kinds of get-togethers here, I could talk all day, but you didn't come to listen to me. But I do want to kind of cover a few items that I think are important with relation to collaborative business development and making this area the best it can be for us and the people that work at our companies. So let's talk about first, who are you when you go to market? And really, what do you do? Well, you got to have a story. You got to tell a story. And then you got to walk the talk of the story. And so that's kind of what we've done. We have a set of core values around here. And that starts with honesty, tell the truth, we can deal with the truth, safety. There isn't a dollar that we make here that's worth putting somebody in harm's way. Quality, consistency is the name of the game, and quality, service. And that happens whether you're talking with your customers, your suppliers, or anybody else in the community. Timeliness is another one. Timeliness is kind of an odd core value, because where'd you get timeliness? Well, you know what? The gist of that one is get to the customer or the other person with the bad news faster than you get to them with the good news. You might take a little lump on the head, but at the end of the day, they'll respect you for being upfront with it, and they'll probably help you solve the problem. and they'll probably turn to you again because they trust you in the future. And then finally, there's a new one on here. This one that we've recently come up with, a lot of the younger people, you know, it's 64 years old and beginning to feel like Methuselah around here. But I don't feel that way. But they say that, you know, this company's got a good reputation for curiosity, looking to see how to do things better, who needs something. You know, we don't look at the cup around. They've said, you know, you don't look at the cup around here whether it's half full or half empty. You look at it, what's it made out of, and can we make it better with starch? And all of this comes down to what you're really after, and that's win-win deals. A lot of companies, there are those out there that want to do a win-lose. We want it all, we don't want you to get any, and we're happy if we take it all, but too bad for you. It's a personal problem as far as I'm concerned. That's not the way we do business. Everything we do are consumables. Think about it. We're in the pet products business, we're in the food business, we're in the livestock and nutrition business. We want to sell you this week, next week, years to come. And that has to have win-win deals. You as the customer have to feel like you're going away with something. We have to feel like we're going away with something. And together, we've done something good. So you have to walk that talk. We've been able to do that for a long time. We started with commercial livestock feed in the 20s and 30s. We started into the grain processing business, this nice looking factory out here. Started up Christmas Eve of 1943, and that was to make alcohol for synthetic rubber during war. Well, the war was over, the government was the customer, it went away. So what did we do? Well, my grandfather had hired a local chemistry teacher, and that was the production manager. As luck would have it, his brother happened to be the production manager at a company called Hubline in Hartford, Connecticut. And Hubline was run by a guy named Jack Martin, and Jack had the idea that this country ought to think about drinking vodka. So they taught us how to make beverage alcohol. And the rest is a long story, which I could bore you with, but I won't. But the bottom line is there was just a lot of people involved in this whole process. And just yesterday, we're coming up in 2027 on our 100th anniversary. And we have a biographer coming in. We're going to make a nice coffee table book. And so this nice woman has been kind of sifting through and interviewing us and finding out, okay, what are the stories and what's the common thread and all of that. And you know, she started out with, well, who are the real key people? And I said, well, we can't tell you who the key people are. All of them are. You know, right down to the chemistry teacher and those people that were out there Christmas Eve in 1943 and the people that are out there right now. It's been a collaborative deal. The city has been wonderful to work with us on so many different ways. The state, I'm sorry, you hear it all the time. I hate it's an old trope, but collaboration is what it's all about. And that's just partnerships, public and private, and making things better for all of those people. So if you want to talk about who we are and who Kent Corporation is, we're a group of people currently who have a number of manufacturing locations. Actually, we have 30. We have 5 in the grain processing or the specialty milling business, 2 like this big one out here. We also have one in Grinnell that processes soybeans and fava beans and chickpea. We have a nice cleaning facility in Oskaloosa. We've got, let me think about this. Nutrition has 14 feed mills scattered from Maine to Nebraska. The consumer brands business. We have 4 locations here in the United States: Superior, Wisconsin, Bolingbrook, Illinois, New Sharon, Iowa, and Columbus, Mississippi. The other arm of that company is Consumer Brands Asia Pacific, and we have, I'm trying to think here. We got 6 total plants there in Australia. I forgot to mention GPC has a joint venture in Malaysia. And then we have 1 plant in the UK also, with plans for some more in the future. And then we rounded out 17 retail stores for feeds and needs in the upper northeast of the United States. So all of this is Kent Corporation. And as I said before, professional metrics can only get you so far. If you really want to get to that win-win, it's got to be, that comes through personal dedication, and that comes through people working together to make things happen. We have many people, my secretary just retired, 47 years with our company. That's not uncommon. We have a lot that way. And what we like to say here is that we're here to offer jobs. We're here to offer careers, not just jobs. And as I talk to the Brad Bark and the police chief and everybody else that's in the community here, I guess the best way I say it is I'll figure out how to create the jobs. You just help me figure out how to attract these people here. And typically what people want to come to Muscatine for, they want to raise a family, they want to do that in a safe environment, and they want a good education. Those are we don't have the ocean, we have the river, which we don't make enough use of, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, we get through all of this stuff because we participate. We collaborate, we're part of the community, we work together. One day I might need something, next day you might need something. But, you know, it's just it's a great way to do business, it's a great way to go through life, and it's a great way to have a 98-year-old story. So, welcome, looking forward to this panel too. By the way, as part of the panel, you're going to have some HNI folks here. And I think we all need to be collaborative Muscatine and Iowa folks. There's something big going on. HNI's got a big acquisition they're trying to land, and this is important stuff. In pretty short order, Muscatine's going to be home to the largest furniture company in the world. Now we need to keep them here. So let's gang up on them. So, anyway, I'll give it back to you, Joe. Thanks.
Appreciate everybody being here this afternoon or tonight. My name is Joe Murphy, the president of the Iowa Business Council. And part of this opportunity tonight is really to come together as community leaders, as business leaders, learn from one another on what some of the best practices are, what some of the common challenges are that we're facing as a community, and what can we do together to solve those challenges or create innovative solutions to those things. One of the things I always like to do when we start sessions like this is just to offer our sense of gratitude. Iowa Business Council is a statewide organization, but it's really about the collaborations and the partnerships that we create with individual regions across the state of Iowa. It's always good to get outside of the golden circle of Des Moines and reach out to our communities around the state and learn from you and really try to figure out what's working well here in Muscatine, for example, today. What can we elevate at a statewide level? And what are those things that we can offer statewide solutions for so that all of our regions across the state are able to thrive and enhance that vitality. So that's what the vision of vitality is all about. We look forward to the dialogue today with our panel. Before we do that, we do like to hit you with some of our research or propaganda and talk about some of the things that the Iowa Business Council is tracking and what some of those things are as we move forward. So maybe just to level set, first, the Iowa Business Council established in 1985. We're a nonpartisan organization. We don't engage in politics necessarily. We do engage in the public affairs process of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and we'll talk about that. But our founders in 1985 came together as the largest companies in the state of Iowa to really figure out what can the largest companies in the state do to elevate Iowa's economic opportunity for every Iowa and for every Iowa company, not just the bottom line of the largest companies. Obviously, the mid-1980s was the midst of the Iowa farm crisis, and we wanted to make sure that nothing like that would ever happen again. So how can we diversify our economy? How can we put policy leaders in place that will lead to good decisions moving forward? And so that was our founding mission, to serve as a catalyst for economic growth in the state of Iowa. And so today, our association represents 21 companies from around the state. Our primary functions are global thought leadership, sharing ideas like we will today, our research capacity, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, and then our advocacy. What ideas can we pull together and offer policymakers as a way to move forward? We also operate something called the Business Education Alliance, where we bring together leaders from K-12 organizations, community colleges, private and public universities to really try to figure out that alignment between education, that pipeline of our future employees, and the business community. What are those jobs in the future that are going to be needed, and how can we educate them in a reliable way? So in total, the Iowa Business Council impact on our state is immense. In 2024, our members had more than 150,000 Iowans employed, more than $8 billion in payroll, almost $2 billion in research and development, almost $3 billion in capital expenditures, tens of thousands of hours of volunteer time off so you can participate in civic organizations, and tens of millions of dollars in philanthropic contributions across the state, all to make Iowa a better place to live, work, and play, as Brad and Gage mentioned. We talk a lot about how Iowa is a state that you can live the life you've always wanted to live, and we really believe that, but it takes partnership, it takes community resilience, and that's one of the things that we're trying to promote here today. It's also important to note that I think that Iowa would look very different without Iowa's largest companies being here in the state of Iowa, right? While some of our companies are traded on Wall Street, every single one of Iowa Business Council members is concerned about Iowa Main Street, and that's really what we try to put forward every single day. And so that leads us to our research, and I know we're right before a great panel and some hors d'oeuvres at the end, so we'll speed through this a little bit, but I do think it's important to level set the conversation and share some of the research capacity of the Iowa Business Council. Each year we publish something called the Competitive Dashboard Report, which measures Iowa's competitiveness across all 50 states. This is an apples-to-apples comparison. It's a snapshot in time. Of course, data is changing every single day, sometimes every single hour, it seems. But this gives us a good idea of where Iowa is ranking compared to the rest of the country. It demonstrates things that we're doing really well in, and it also demonstrates some opportunities for improvement, which we'll get into and talk about. The first area that I'd like to start with is economic growth, and you can see on the chart that we're doing pretty well. We're competitive here in that yellow sort of gas gauge area. One of the reasons for that is we're a very well diversified economy in the state. We've learned from the Great Farm Crisis 40 years ago. Manufacturing is our #1 industry in the state of Iowa. We're a top 3 performing manufacturing state in the nation. You combine that with our prowess in biosciences, agriculture, advanced manufacturing, of course, financial services, we're able to withstand economic duress much better than a lot of other states around the country. And we're seeing that play forward here more recently as new data comes to light that shows that Iowa is better able to withstand some of these economic pressures from international markets and even some national markets as well. We're 7th in cost of living, we're 9th in affordable housing. Again, your dollar is stretched farther here in the state of Iowa than many other places around the Midwest and certainly around the country. And so we're able to punch above our weight class here to a certain extent and really provide that beacon of opportunity, that beacon of hope for all sorts of individuals. When you look at our education and workforce standards, we've slipped a little bit, admittedly. Again, this is a snapshot in time, so we were really concerned at the beginning of the year with our 4th grade reading and our 8th grade math. Those proficiencies really dipped over the course of a 2-year span, but since then we've actually recovered. New data has been released, and so we're on the upward trajectory there. We were also engaged with the Math Counts Act this year, the legislature that really provided some proactive remedial and necessary training, not only for teachers, but for parents and for students who might need extra help in math to make sure that we're bending the curve in a positive way there. The main impact that the Iowa Business Council has in a lot of partnership with the great folks at the Iowa Workforce Development Office is work-based learning. What careers can we offer our young people earlier on in their academic career? What exploratory options can we offer them so that they realize that there's a great career opportunity waiting for them upon graduating high school or community college or a great 4-year institution? These are incredibly important for us as we think about the future of our state, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. But when we think about the population challenges that we have in the state of Iowa and what that means for our long-term sustainability, if we can retain our population, if we can retain our young people here in the state of Iowa, we'll be much more able to sustain economic growth and opportunity into the future. And it starts with community partnership between educators and the business community. So I would implore you today, if you haven't already, to seek out a relationship with your local high school or your local K-12 superintendent and figure out ways in which you can invite young people into the business. What opportunities can you offer them for high school internships or registered apprenticeships or high-quality pre-apprenticeship programs? Expose young minds to the great career opportunities that all your businesses provide your local constituents. It's hugely important as we think about the future of the state of Iowa. Moving into our governance section of our report, this is really sort of business operations of the state. We really obviously spend a lot of time talking about the tax climate in the state of Iowa. And again, we're a nonpartisan organization, but we do represent businesses, and we very much think that a capitalistic, free market, competitive business climate is absolutely essential when we think about expanding business opportunities in the state. So we're very pleased to see in recent years our individual income tax index and our corporate tax index increase in competitiveness over the last several years. Our goal would be to see these rankings get into the top 15, and I think we're on our way. We have some state senators and representatives here who really led the way in those initiatives since 2022, and we thank you for that bipartisan effort that was created. And we're doing this in a responsible way. We talked a lot about the individual income tax, but on the corporate side of things, the state was able to put in some safeguards that would make sure that the corporate tax rate would only decrease if state revenues hit a certain threshold. Now that's a very sort of wonky way to talk about it, but what's important about that statement is the fact that we have performance metrics built into the budget. So while we might have some state revenue declines right now, it was planned for, the state has the available resources to fund that deficit on the revenue side, and we're able to move forward in a positive way without cutting services. So I think that's an important aspect to continuously talk about. When we get into our health and wellness aspect of this report, we're not a healthcare organization, but we do have healthcare members, part of the Iowa Business Council with Unity Point Health and Mercy One. Important to think about healthcare as an important aspect of business competitiveness in this state. We talk a lot about population growth, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. But more and more, as we think about our rural communities, having access to a thriving and vibrant healthcare delivery system is absolutely necessary for your employment base, for your community base, for your educators, and that's really going to be a driving force, I think, moving forward for Iowa and Iowa communities, making sure that we have more active primary care providers. Mental health is another thing that we're very engaged in as well, not necessarily a quote-unquote traditional business aspect, but very much at the center of a lot of the discussions that we have at the Iowa Business Council. If we can make sure that our people are healthy, both from a mental health standpoint and a physical health standpoint, that's going to really increase our ability to drive innovations, drive prosperity, and really benefit every single Iowan. From a demographic standpoint, this is where we identify some of the concerns that we would point to in the state of Iowa. We have a population situation in our state that hasn't gotten better over the course of the last several decades, really. Iowa is one of the only states in the nation whose population has not doubled since 1900. More than 2/3 of our counties have reached their peak population point by 1950 or earlier. That's concerning. And as you can see here in some of these statistics, we're growing, but not as quickly as the rest of the country. Or the last census indicated that the state of Iowa grew at about 4.5% over that 10-year period. The rest of the country grew at about 7.8%. So we're behind the curve there. If you look at our 5-year population trends, that's another concern too, only about a 1.7% increase. And we're also aging as a population, as you can imagine as well. So what can we do about it? Well, we talked about our work-based learning strategies. What are the population retention strategies that we can employ? We can put some fencing, figuratively, not literally, around the state of Iowa to make sure that our young people don't leave. And again, offering those great career opportunities that they might have here in the state of Iowa, hugely important. But then we can do a lot at the federal level as well. What other sort of funding mechanisms can we afford to bring in some of those innovative apprenticeship programs to the state? We're also very engaged in immigration reform discussions with our congressional delegation. And we recognize certainly that that's a very hot political topic, but I think one of the roles as business leaders and community leaders is to really reduce the rhetoric around some of these issues and talk about the economic sense that it makes to bring in highly skilled, legal, and innovative people into the state of Iowa. That's going to help not only our innovations in this state, but it will help our communities grow and thrive and create more business opportunities for more people to take advantage of. So very engaged in that aspect as well. So we're involved in a lot of different things at the Iowa Business Council, but really centered around workforce development, right? What can we do to really elevate workforce development in both technical skills, but also some social development skills and professional development skills as well. An example of that was our workforce review that we conducted last summer. We met individually with all of our individual IBC companies, and some of the participants in those sessions are here in this room today. But we met individually with our talent teams and really asked, hey, what are you seeing right now in the economy? The labor market was shifting. We went into it naively thinking, hey, we need more welders, we need more skilled nurses, we need more CNAs, we need more coders or technologists. And the resounding feedback that we received from our individual members was that we really needed to focus on professional skills or soft skills. And so we created something called the Professional Success Proficiencies at the Iowa Business Council around 4 themes: communication and social engagement. How can you communicate with somebody on your team? How can you be socially present for your team members, both in person and virtually? It's a new skill as we're sort of navigating this post-COVID world. Our organizational and service mindset. Can you put aside your personal ambitions or your individual ambitions and really focus on the common good or the common goals of the organizations, and understanding that if you put forward that effort to achieve that common goal for that company, that's going to lead to good and highly prosperous individual attainment for yourself. Resiliency and grit, we talked a lot about this. Can you work through a problem? Can you get through adversity? Can you get through setbacks? Can you become a self-starter? Can you work a problem to completion rather than coming back to your manager after 20 minutes and saying, hey, I tried that one thing that you said and it didn't work, so what can we do now? You gotta work the problem, right? And what sort of resiliency tactics can we build in to our young people in particular? And then the last one was the tolerance for ambiguity and change. These things are changing all the time, and it's something that we need to get comfortable with. One of the things that we've identified is the leadership change across our organizations is happening much more rapidly than ever before, with people getting promoted more quickly, which is a good thing, and then things happen among our workforce where people need to shift into different jobs, whether it's student technology or other aspects. How can we be resilient in the face of change, in the face of ambiguity, when you might not know where a situation is taking you? So that's just a sample of some of the things that we're engaging with at the Business Council level, led by Gage Kent, our chairman, and our 20 other members across the state of Iowa. And so we're really pleased to share some of this data with you today. We look forward to hearing from our panel here as well, and we are right on time, which is great. So I'll invite our panelists to our assembled stage here. Well, but maybe just to start off, Rich, we'll just go down the line. Quick 30-second bio of yourself and your organization.
Rich Dwyer with Kent Worldwide. So I've been with the company 41 years. Started out as artist on the animal nutrition side of our business. Worked up in a number of different roles to actually take on Kent Feeds as president, and then switched over as far as into the corporate side. And I currently handle as senior vice president of corporate affairs. Basically, what is corporate affairs? In my mind, it's a matter of working local with a local environment, as well as working at the state level, and then also the federal level. So I get involved with all those part of the company.
Hello, Bill Harper. I'm with Stanley Consultants, Vice President, Director of Tax and Treasury. Been with Stanley for 25 years. Stanley's traced its roots back to 1913, so we're about 112 years old. We've done work in over 120 countries, all 50 states. I'm kind of the hometown boy. I'm born and raised here in Muscatine. I had a paper route up Sycamore Street, literally deliver papers and deposit in my paper route check, CBI, Central State at the time. But anyway, pleasure to be on the panel today.
My name is Jeff Rogers. I'm CEO of Musco. I'm based out of Oskaloosa. This March, I'll start my 43rd year at Musco. I started as a field technician with Musco when we built mobile lighting to go to our first game at Notre Dame, and been very fortunate to be with the company since then. And today when I started, we were about 55 employees, something like that, 60. And today we have about 2,100 worldwide. About 1,600 based here in Iowa, And again, I'm not a Muscatine guy, born in Cedar Rapids, but we're very proud to be part of the state of Iowa.
Thanks. I'm VP Berger with H&I Corporation. I'm the rookie up here because I've only been with the company 29 years. Wow. I think that's quite a sight. H&I Corporation, $3 billion office furniture manufacturer and hearth provider, industry leader in both. We got about 8,000 employees, obviously several thousand here at H&I, and looking forward to being part of the family.
Great. Thanks, VP. Rich, let's start back with you and talk about some of our workforce strategies. All of our companies here represented have various engaging workforce strategies. Could each of you highlight some areas that you're working in to attract and retain talent, and specifically the younger workforce and recent graduates?
Sure. We try to get involved with a number of things around the community and to really try to help that next generation of workforce, even as far as going into the elementary school side of it. And I give a lot of credit to the community with a program that's called Spark. So it's a summer program that allows for the businesses to get together to help for a summer program that's put on for the kids so they have something to do throughout the summer. And that we do demonstrations of how the starch product works and different businesses do that around the community. So it's get the community kids at a younger age to understand what's going on with the business, what do they actually do. So that's one of them that works very well. The other piece that get involved with too is AIM, Aligned Impact Muscatine, and Kim Lawrence here as well. That runs that organization, which really helps to develop as far as trying to look at the educational piece of things and how we can help grow that elevation of that education component of it and help those kids in the different areas to, again, get to know the business, what's the roles that we need, and what else can we do to try to really build that up. We also get involved in a number of different items as far as with the schools and different things. The Ag Learning Center, for those that are not from Muscatine, we have an Ag Learning Center that was built a number of years ago, but it's basically elevated to Muscatine to be the #1 Ag high school system. I think pretty much in the state, but they were recognized. We have 5 Ag teachers in the school system, and we're recognized as the best Ag program in about a 7-state region, I believe, or something like that. I forget how many states, but just phenomenal to have that type of purpose. But we want to help those kids understand what is agriculture. That's what we're into. So we help to support those type of programs. So it's trying to get involved in a lot of different areas within the schools, with the younger kids, to really understand what is out there. We also work close with the Eastern Iowa Community College, Muscatine Community College as well, and all the things that they're working towards, and how we can help grow that business. We're working with them not only on the ag side, but also on all the other skill sets, welding, the healthcare. We need that in the community, so we want to try to help support wherever we can different things with the community college. So we try to hit all the different components of the educational system to really help grow this community. And I think that's important for any business to be part of. Bill, what would you add?
Yeah. So at Stanley, we hire engineers and we focus a lot on Iowa State and Iowa grants primarily. But we've invested a lot in the last few years and expanded our internship program. It's probably doubled in the last couple of years. We had 35 in our internship program last year. Some from Iowa, some from Iowa State, but we have 25 offices in the U.S., so we kind of hit universities all over the country, and those 35 are kind of dispersed across the organization. But we plug them in early on and put them into meaningful jobs, so they're very well connected in the YPN network we have at Stanley Consultants, which is very active. So our focus is primarily on the university side, student side. And then when we hire them, or if they're not interns that come on board, any new person that's been with the company a year or less, or within that year and a half, we have a learning and development program that's pretty specific. They meet like 10 months out of the year, different areas. My background is CPA, finance, so I kind of lead a session on kind of the financials of the company and that sort of thing. So it's very much getting them plugged in and connected with and getting to know the company early on in their career to hopefully keep them retained.
Yeah, I would have a lot more to add to that. Perhaps the one thing we do is we do some fun stuff. We get to go light things all over the world, and we try to do everything we can to expose a lot of different kids to those events and those activities. And then the big part, one, you got to get them, but the second thing is got to keep them. And so we work really hard to figure out what are those programs that you can put in place to want to become part of the team. And Gage talked about it earlier, is we all exist for the people that work for us and with us, and you got to figure out how to make them part of the team and feel like they're able to make decisions. And I'm very blessed to work for some owners that have cared about that for a long time. We're going to hit our 50th anniversary next July, and it's pretty neat to see families like this one spend the time to keep these companies and really care about keeping the companies in the community. And then again, we have to continue to promote that as the next generations come online.
Yeah, very similar programs. I think you're gonna hear that we try to comprehensively, from the time they're kindergartners to the time they're in 12th grade. It's fascinating. And I'm a year in this community, moving from Minneapolis and seeing how important that is to be part of it. It's not just go grab the intern or go figure out how you're going to network in the community. There's this conscious approach to humanize this at early ages. So I think that's key for the short term. For the long term, as we actually attract talent, similar deal. We've got north of 100 interns. We have early career development programs. It's fascinating to watch your young leaders be part of that. You're bringing people in the summer and a pretty high hit rate of getting them to return. Removing the barriers. Another thing we do as it relates to interns. We've got interns from hours and hours away. It's not all just local. And we were able to set them up with housing and make it easy for them to do. That ultimately creates a natural network for them. They create their own internal board over the summer, which ultimately gets them super excited about not just manufacturing, any job in manufacturing on Muscatine. So comprehensive approach never ends. And as we get into what our challenges are going to be long term, it's probably these early career development programs that are probably more important than they ever have been. So I think we all better be developing them. And I think you got to formalize the structure. We've tried multiple different ways. We now, if I take the finance and accounting, there's 16 of them sitting in that group from all over the country in the early career development program, and they go through 4 very distinct 6-month stints in 4 very different areas of the organization. And I think we're doing that in a lot of different areas. I think we probably have some common consistencies across that, and it's like I said, it's very rewarding for young leaders to bring in early career developers. So you're not only helping the new member, but you're also teaching people leadership and the important skills of that.
You guys have done, Brad, as far as our interns. We have a lot of interns with all the businesses in town, and so we do these interns. But the chamber has put together an event where every Thursday they get together with all the interns that all these businesses have, and they go teach about what the community has and show what Muscatine has in the community. What a great way to get them to understand, okay, this could be a cool place to live. And we don't know where they're going to end up. If we like to hire them, we can. And those that don't, they could still say, hey, Muscatine's a pretty good community, or Iowa's a pretty good, great state. So to me, it's a group effort. We can't do it alone as a business. It's got to be everybody. And it's not just Muscatine, but it's got to be the whole state to do the same. You all got to be a part of it.
Anything to add, VP? Sorry.
Yeah, as a new Iowan who has lived in Baltimore, Pennsylvania, and Minnesota, I agree with everything you're saying here. And living here a year, it's a great place to live. The economic data that you shared, I've just experienced all of it. You talk about affordability, the change, and the cost of living, and it's making sure everybody understands that, especially when you're in early career. This concept of removing barriers for 19 to 21-year-old kids, and you get them here, and you can hook them because of what you have and what you can provide. Specifically in this area, you don't have to live in Muscatine. I mean, if you want a lifestyle, a college lifestyle, you can commute from Iowa City. If you want farm or rural areas, or you can be in a different area. You can get pulled from quad cities. And we found that regardless of the area that we're in, I agree, it takes everyone. It's just making sure we keep those values in place. And I think that's why you hear people say people love living here. People are nice. They actually care about you. They want to interact with you, whether you're into a local restaurant or you're going through a drive-through Starbucks. So I think that's in our favor. When we get to what do you think about the future and the opportunity? There's a lot to be excited about, and certainly the culture of Iowa and what it provides is a huge asset for all of us.
Very good. Other questions?
I got just a comment. I just want to say I think it's really going to help the community. We haven't seen the dividends yet, but this new bubble with with young parents and they want their kids in activities and, you know, I was a soccer parent, still a soccer parent, and took her all over the state. I took her to Des Moines at night. So, you know, you can keep those good professional parents in town or attract those. That bubble is going to be huge. And I know Jeff and Gage were big on that, and Brad too. I just think that's really going to pay a big difference for this town.
We got some of the best sports facilities anywhere in the country, right here in our backyard. You know, with baseball and all the soccer fields and now the bubble, you're right on target. We've got everything at any of those things.
I just think it's huge. I mean, I think it's really going to be good for you once it gets going.
I think the comment earlier about pick the vital few and you can do more with it, looking at what Muscatine has done, the investments with the Y, we talked about healthcare facilities, we talk about bubble, we talk about donating things that can help for long term. I mean, that's ultimately we talk about stewardship and responsibility. We all agree with it. And if we can collectively work on those bigger, larger, more impactful projects, even though they take a little bit longer, they just have such a bigger impact to the community, not just short term, but long term. So I think that's just something that we got to listen. My point about making sure we understand what we need. I think all these projects came out of environments, whether it's the chamber or whether it's these interactions, and say, hey, this is what we're missing. So I think we're going to all continue to do that.
So that's a good segue into maybe an economic development question. We talked a lot about the really good things that are going on in this community and in the state, and there's certainly many of those, but we'd like to pivot and talk a little bit about maybe some of the challenges that we're facing, either specifically here in the community or more broadly. So when you think about economic development and regional workforce development, what's the greatest challenge that you're seeing in either one of those aspects?
Chick-fil-A.
A lack of Chick-fil-A?
No, I'm coming once a month. I'm not sure it's local, but again, I've kind of said it many times, for us, it's the profession of engineering STEM. I guess we need to promote STEM careers at an early age to the best we can with educators and companies. We need to support that as well. You can put money, our foundation contributes to organizations and provides scholarships to these efforts, but you also have to have manpower and put some effort, elbow grease behind it as well, to push those STEM careers. For us, it's we need more people in the STEM career path.
Yeah, in Oskaloosa, which is my home, so I'm close to it, is affordable housing is a challenge right now. We're struggling to find affordable housing, and so we're involved on several fronts to try to create some of that, but that's definitely a challenge. I think one of your charts earlier that you talked about the soft skills for people, I think that's a big deal. I think people with tolerance, people with interpersonal skills where they can sit down and talk to people, that's getting to be more of a challenge some. And I think whatever we can do to build programs, schools can build programs to help kids become more effective with that, I think it's going to be valuable. But it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. Challenges, VP, that you're seeing, or Rich?
Yeah, very, very similar. I mean, I think we're always going to challenge, and we've got locations, 75 or 80 locations around the country, that, you're going to have economic development, labor challenges, and we talk about the qualified employee, depending on the type of area they're going to work in. I think that just gets back to keep working with the community on what's important and create partnerships. And as far as the idea of bigger and larger projects, this housing thing's not going away. And we've all seen the data. We've seen really good reporting on, where we're really short and where we're okay. And I think that's an area as a community, we all just got to get our heads together and help solve it. And it's not like you can just write a check. It takes philanthropy, it takes planning, it takes a little bit of vulnerability and trust that as you do that, the things are going to work out. But these things don't stand alone individually. They all kind of stack, from DOME to OBGYN to is it affordable, and how do we protect those stats that you put up there an hour ago. So I think that's just one we should talk a lot about over the next, not just now, but the next few years. It's a real problem here, and this is in a very gray area. So, and I do believe it's fixable, at least a journey towards fixable. I think we're on the right track here.
And I asked the question more so, what's affordable? what is affordability? You know, it's different in everybody's position, and that's what's so difficult for housing. It's trying to get their definition and figure out what affordability is and trying to make it fit. And it's very difficult to do. You know, some probably heard this statistic before, but Muscatine has basically 50% of their housing stock older than 1939. So you've got that kind of an inventory sitting out here. What can we do about it? And so it's been an effort for Muscatine, especially with the foundation and other groups, really trying to hone in on it. You know, you look at, Mayor's got put together with 3 different apartment complexes being built, which is phenomenal. It's probably about 150, 160 units, which is great for a starting piece, but we need people to build equity. The only way you're going to build equity is taking that ownership of the house. Now, the older ones, fixer-uppers, that's great, but trying to figure out how do we get them into these other ones and what's affordable. You know, some of them right now, you're talking 300 plus for a new house. You know, that gets pretty expensive, and how is that affordable to some of the workforce that we need? So we really got to get creative in how we can try to build that affordability and what that definition really is. It's different to every single person. So that's what makes it so tough to try to really hone in on it. But we have to do that. In order to grow this community, we have to have the housing sectors growing, which we do. We've got Hackett's working on that development, so that's been a great one. What's that, 20-some units that's going in there for housing? 26 units, duplexes, triplexes, quads, all of that's going to be helpful. But we just got to find those developers. How do we get a developer to come to Muscatine, because they're in Des Moines or in Iowa City, where it's, you know, they're building houses constantly, every single day. And so we got to get creative on how we can get it done in Muscatine and in a smaller communities that we're all in. That's the tough piece of it. It's being worked on. It takes time. That's all I could say about it.
Well, I have a couple minutes left for audience questions. Going once, going twice. So let's end the panel with a question. You can either use it as final comments or question, or final statement, or offer some insights. We've talked about some challenges here over the last couple of minutes, but we always like to end our meetings at the IBC on a sense of positivity for our future, a sense of optimism. So what makes you optimistic about the region, about the state as we close out 2025 and enter 2026? Rich, we'll go right down the line again.
I'm positive about the people. You get the people, the right people in the room, you can get a lot accomplished. And we've got a great group of people in this community that can make things happen. And we have. Look at sports, look at the dome, look at all these things. We can get things done and get the right people at the table to make things happen. And that's what we've always done in the past. And I think that's a big piece to keep us moving forward.
Bill?
Yeah, all the great things going on in the community are awesome. From a company perspective, I'm excited about the youth coming in and seeing the next generation of leaders emerging. Our senior leadership is very committed to making the next generation successful. So I think there's a lot of effort going into that with our young professional network, our career development program, and our internship program. So yeah, we're bringing a lot of youth, and the future looks bright for our company and Iowa.
I just want everybody to know that it's an all must-go World Series. All must-go World Series. So when you watch either game at the Jays or at Dodgers, those lights are built in Muscatine, Iowa. So you remember that. No, again, we've got a lot of positive things going on right now. We feel good about this community. We feel good about the state of Iowa. We're very fortunate to be in an area of youth recreation that continues to grow and build. And our owners, our leadership team, we continue to plan, building in Muscatine and making it a better community.
Excited for both those games coming up. I think I'd start with the collaboration. I know you started with the word people, and you can't have it without people. I think it's pretty exciting. You guys have something special here. We have something special here for sure. How all the different business units work together. I think that's one. I think although the economy, when they talk about CEO confidence and what we're worried about, there's some choppiness, but the underlying fundamentals are really strong. So that makes us, as investors and as a publicly traded company that want to continue to invest, we're doing exactly the same. We're expanding our early career development programs. We're expanding our internship programs. We're going to have more people in Muscatine than we've ever had, as I look from a workforce standpoint, from an investment standpoint. I also think as these things you know, as some of these unknowns go away, we just as an economy really learn how to deal with tariffs and the threat of what could happen with that. And it's just proof of the resiliency. You had the slide up there, the resiliency of Iowans. I agree with that. I mean, that's incredible. And what that does for us as investors is say we're willing to make more investments. So we just announced a $2 billion acquisition of Steelcase, a competitor in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Without the confidence of the economy and believing that things are going to move forward as a publicly traded company, we wouldn't do that. So I'm excited about adding 11,000 members and becoming a $6 billion business and a $4 billion market cap business, because that's only going to bring more opportunity to Muscatine as we think about how we collaborate with those businesses. And then I'm excited about affordable housing. I know it's hard to say, you can say it. We're looking forward to partnering with Muscatine and with our recent land donation, because we see its need. And we know that that land can be purposeful to develop a lot of type of homes, duplexes, single families. And I know you're in good hands with the city of Muscatine on how they're going to do it. They've shown us plans that are really well thought out. So I think we'll keep working on the big projects. The economy and fundamentals behind this are good. And I think you've got a bunch of local companies here that want to invest.
Great. Let's thank our panel.